brands.
I think there's too many fucking water bottle brands, and I've had enough of it.
There are a lot of water bottle brands in the world, but let me tell you what the best water bottle brand is. Oh, hey there, listener. The best water bottle brand is Owala. Owala water bottles have not only a big wide mouth that you can put ice into, they also have a top lip that has a straw attached to it, so you can sip like this, or you can dump.
Or
like
you can
this.
tilt up. Yeah, that's nice. I will say that is nice.
They're double insulated. They're only $34.99 at Target. Please go get you one. Owala, please sponsor us.
All right.
I'm going to hear you say a wall of water one more time, Trey.
A wall of water.
I am a Hydro Flask man through and through, and I always have been, and nothing will change my mind on that. I fucking love Hydro Flask. I got multiple, like, that's the way to go. Anthony, you were definitely an Nalgene guy. I can see that for sure.
These Nalgenes are like probably 4 or 5 years old now, and I've lost them many a times, and they tend to come back to me. So shout out Nalgene, always coming back to you.
This is not how you get sponsorships, guys.
I'm a ride or die until fucking wheels fall off.
That's fair.
So. Well, welcome to election night coverage with Blake, Trey, and Anthony. We're going to be breaking down every single result as they roll in for the next 5.5 hours. So strap in if you're watching us on Twitch. Welcome to Totally Biased Music. It's Blake, Trey, and Anthony, and today we're talking. Trey, do you want to say the name of this album? Because I'm going to mess it up. I think.
CHROMAKOPIA. Today we're talking about the election, okay?
Yeah.
Today we're talking about CHROMAKOPIA by Tyler, the Creator, a newly released record that came out on a Monday morning, which was very interesting. I want to talk a little bit about that release strategy, but before we get there, this is Tyler's 8th album, if you count Bastard as an album, which technically is a mixtape, but Tyler counts it as an album. Tyler, the Creator, has had a very interesting career as far as kind of coming out as a horrorcore shock rapper, but has then kind of continued to climb the ranks and climb the opinions of a little bit more of like the high art type of rap music, in my opinion, putting out a lot of different concept albums, and this one is no different. So I think the concepts that this record deal with are like pretty heavy. I think, there's a lot of things that we're going to be able to get into, but the first few songs aren't fully representative of the record as a whole. If you have listened to it, I would probably recommend you kind of push through those first 3 tracks or so to really get into the meat and potatoes of the record. I'm very curious to hear how Blake and Anthony both listened to this, if they enjoyed it. Blake is a notorious Tyler, the Creator hater, since he did not like Cherry Bomb, but me and Blake grew up loving Tyler, the Creator together.
True.
I think Blake actually showed me Tyler, the Creator, which is one of the few instances where the river ran that way. Because
it's probably about even.
Short. It was like a stream, kind of.
I think it's about even.
Anthony, I know you're not a huge fan of hip hop, so
that's not true. Okay, there we go.
There we go. Fan of modern day hip hop. Anthony, let's go with you first. How did you feel about it?
So I had listened to some of Tyler, the Creator's earlier albums, probably the first 2 that came out. I remember one came out while I was in Bastard. I just looked at the timeline. That was like 2009, I think. So I was in high school when that came out, and I remember wanting to like it. Like when Tyler, the Creator, first like started to put out music, I was like, oh hell yeah, like a new artist of our time, right? After Wayne, after Cudi, insert Tyler, the Creator, and I'm like, damn, I could just never. It never resonated with me back then. So I knew this album was gonna be kind of experimental. Taking elements from a lot of different genres of music, a lot of different ways he utilizes his voice. So I knew it was going to kind of go all over the place. But so it was an interesting listen. I listened to it a couple times. First time was very much like a face value, wanting to see and try to pick apart what it was about. Second listen, I had done a little bit of digging into some of just the notes, in the trusted source that is, shout out Wikipedia, right?
Shout out Wikipedia.
So it was an interesting listen. I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to pick it apart, but I'll be really interested to get y'all's thoughts, because definitely you, Trey, consider you more versed in this kind of universe of music, because it's a whole nother world. That's for sure.
I would agree. Blake?
Okay, look, let me say something about the podcast in general, right? I think it's important in this podcast to try right? In everything that we do, I think we need to try to bring insightful music commentary. I think we need to try to be funny. I think we need to try in general, right? So when I bring an album or a movie to you guys, I expect you to try. And if you start it and you don't enjoy it, I don't expect you to finish it. I expect you to try, to put out the effort to engage in that art and listen to it. With that being said, I finished the album for you, Trey, because I knew if I didn't, I would never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something, man. This was one of the hardest things for me to get through that I have ever listened to. Like, and I'm not, and like, here's the problem. I was really excited going into it because I hadn't listened to a Tyler project in so long. Everyone was gassing this shit to high fucking heaven. So I was like, it has to be good. And like, just the wind was sucked out of my sails so quickly. And I think like, look, there are artists that you enjoy, that you don't enjoy, that you grow out of, right? I think we learned recently, Trey, you kind of grew out of Eminem, like listening to The Death of Slim Shady. And I think Tyler, I've just grown out of, man. I don't like his voice. I don't really like much about this album. Like it feels really, really all over the place to me. It's like jarring in ways that are not good. Like, and I really did try, and I really wanted to like it. And I have some songs that I like. Like, it's not a zero. It's not no good songs across the board. But just as a whole, it wasn't something I enjoyed. And it sucks because, like, I really tried, Trey. I really, really tried. And I want you to know that because I could have taken the easy route.
This is real for you.
I could have taken the easy route, you know? But nonetheless, I still, like, am excited to talk about it and hear what you guys have to say about it. But I want to get that out. Like, I want to get that off my chest. Like, I think me and Tyler have grown apart, man. I think I've just grown out of it. It just happens sometimes with artists, you know?
You know, and that's why we're totally biased music. You have an opinion, right? It's biased. And that's fine. You know, this is an artist that you don't resonate with anymore, and that's all right. I was really hoping maybe this would be the one that got you back on the train, because I think Call Me If You Get Lost is a really good album. Personally, I was really excited for you to be like, man, I loved this. I messed up by not listening to Tyler over the last 5 or 6 years. And Trey, you're amazing for bringing me back into the light. But you know what, Blake? We can't always get what we want.
We can't always get what we want.
We can try.
We can try. Exactly.
So with that, why don't we do a little reverse, since we're starting out a little negative, and there's nothing wrong with negative. Everything is about balance, right? You have to have negative to have positive. Why don't we start with our bottom tracks instead of starting with our top tracks?
Okay. Well, Trey, I've got a question for you, because you hadn't listened to this album before you brought it, right? So it was a blind pick. I would just be curious to know, after listening to this album, what would you recommend people listen to try to prepare for this album? You know, being a 2024 Tyler project. Because I wouldn't know where to start, honestly, because he really is a creator all over the place. I mean, he just wild child.
So for me, this album is most like Wolf in the fact that a lot of the songs are like consistent conversations between him and like his own psyche, or him and like another character that are in the tracks, without it going into like Goblin, which is like his first like major release. Well, not even necessarily major release, but Goblin had a lot of different characters. He had like a therapist involved and like a serial killer and And there's some of that in Wolf, but for the most part, it's just like introspective reflections. I think that happens a lot on this record too. So I would say you should listen to Wolf to like prepare for this. And then as far as like pure like rap skill, Tyler's best record's Call Me If You Get Lost, because he kind of ditches the idea of like a concept other than like it being there's like being like sonic themes throughout, but that has like his best like technical skill. So I'd probably say Wolf and Call Me If You Get Lost. Igor's I don't even want to go into that because it's like a whole thing. But yeah, I would say Wolf and Call Me If You Get Lost. It's a great question.
Gotcha. I got many questions about Tyler, honestly.
Trey, do you want to start us with your bottoms?
Sure, I will start. So, like I said, kind of in my little brief intro, the first three, this is an album for me. It's an album of runs. So there's like a really good run, there's a really not so great run, and then for me, there's a phenomenal run towards the end of the record. So I'll talk about the bad one first. Ra-Ta-Ta, not a good song. the beat is weird and it's like overly abrasive. I don't really love his lyrics. They're pretty like aggressive. Um, it's just not terribly enjoyable. So that's like my third bottom track. My second bottom track is Noid. That's like the hit single, or not necessarily a hit. It only has like 51 million streams, but which is crazy that that's like a low amount, but it is.
Yeah, right.
I don't like it. I don't think it's representative of the album at all, and it's like kind of throws you off. These first three, like Ratata, Saint Chroma, and Noid, are the first three songs on this record that is like really like a very emotional and soft hip hop record. And you start off with these tracks that are not great, and then the number one particularly terrible song and just an incredible tease in general. Sticky. Sticky is bad. Sticky has a Lil Wayne feature on it, and Lil Wayne has 4 lines.
Yeah.
The other 2 feature. Yeah, I knew that was good. When I heard that, I was like, Blake is going to go off.
That bothered the fuck out of me.
And it should, because it's fucking dumb. But the Glorilla verse and the Sexy Red, that's just like, I'm just not into that. I don't like the beat's not great. This is something that probably Tyler thought was going to be some type of hit. But I don't enjoy it at all. So the 3 songs that I like are the more like upbeat, or excuse me, that I dislike are the more like upbeat, like aggressive, whatever. The, from Wolf, I'm trying to think of like the name of the track that's like super like hyphy. It's like that type of shit. I don't think he really shines through super well on those type of songs. So yeah,
That's fair.
Like
I really enjoy Wolf. I just have to say that. Like, this really reminded me of a time where, like, we were listening to Wolf all the fucking time, and there's awesome. Still, I think Wolf, like, aged very well compared to other Tyler projects. Like, I still think Wolf is a great piece of work that isn't like Goblin, right? Where Goblin is intentionally trying to be edgy. I think Wolf kind of doesn't have that aspect, so I just got to give a shout out to that album. So first bottom track, Saint Chroma. Look, man, whatever happens like halfway into this song, let's see, hang on, when is the exact moment? Like 2 minutes in, when it goes into like a hip hop beat, like I don't know, man. It was so jarring and confusing for me emotionally. I was like, what am I listening to? Like, it just made me, the only word I can use to describe it is it made me uncomfortable. Like, it made me physically uncomfortable. I was like, I have to change this song. And unfortunately, like, Trey, as you said, like the first 3 songs are all kind of like that to me, because Ratata, I agree completely. Like the production on that track is harsh as fuck. That's the only word for it. And I will say, I think there's probably moments where I could enjoy Ratata. Like, I don't know what those moments are, but I feel like there are moments where I would enjoy it. But Saint Chroma, that's never going to happen for me. And then my next one, Judge Judy. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what is he rapping? Is he singing? Is he talking? It doesn't really sound like him either. Like, it just like, I don't know, man. It just never comes together for me. Like, I don't know the direction. And it's, you know what? I feel like LeBron, when the Kyrie trade fell apart and he tweeted, maybe it's me. That's how I feel right now. Maybe it's me. Because everybody else on the internet loves this album and is talking about how fucking great it is. So, like, obviously it's me, but, like, I don't know how to fix that part, you know? So Judge Judy's on there, and then I gotta agree with you with Sticky, just because simply, like, that 4 lines of Lil Wayne pissed me the fuck off, man. Because I was like, this is gonna be the glimmer of hope in the album. I'm gonna get a fire Wayne verse. He comes in, 4 lines, gone. I was like, all right, word, way to blue ball me. So yeah, those are my bottom tracks.
Sad.
Well, I mean, it's definitely an interesting conversation. And Trey, I salute you for the rearrangement of this, because I think it's worth doing it this way, because this album to me was extremely confusing, you know, and I know, at least in my perception of Tyler's music, is that way. Like, I don't know which way it's going to go, but some of these tracks are arranged in ways that, like, musically I couldn't follow, but there were sections that I liked and then sections that I didn't like, and then I'm kind of stuck at a standstill saying, I don't even know if I like this track or not, just because of all the different emotions it was making me feel, which is worth noting. But so I had Noid as one of these floater tracks for me, because to me Noid is like there's like 4 acts in this song that like are completely different. So like there's an interesting beat at the beginning of the track that I like, but then towards the end, like the last half, I just really was not a fan of. But there is one thing that I did find interesting in Noid. Blake, I don't know if you would remember this or if it would resonate with you too, but there's a piano at the end of the track, and it's like da 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 da, and like I kept repeating that in my head. I'm like, what does this make me think of? And what it made me think of was the song "Dear Ann" by Lil Wayne. It's like, "Dear Ann, my number one fan." It just has this very similar vibe to it. So like that's the reason why I couldn't decide where I wanted to put Noid. So it's floating, but it's floating more towards the bottom, really, just because of just the arrangement itself. I also have Ratata in there. Again, yeah, the Saint Chroma, I was trying to figure out where it was going to go, and then when it went into that, I was just like, this is just, I don't know. It's hard to describe. My number one bottom track I have is Balloon, and that is because of the feature of Dochi.
Yeah.
I was just not a fan at all of the way she came off like she has a very aggressive way of rapping, but like it just didn't resonate with me at all. So Balloon, Ratata, and Noid is a floater for me.
Nice.
All right. That's fair.
I
All right, let's
a couple of those.
let's go a little more positive. What do you got for top tracks? You want me to start?
Yeah. Well, no, Anthony, you go first.
Me? All right, we'll do that. Okay, so number 3. Number 3, I put this because I like the acoustics of Sticky. And I do love the hook of it. You know, I don't like the fact of all the rappers. I think all the features on that track are very short-lived. And why is that the case? I do not know. But it has this really raw, like, physical stomp beat throughout the track, which does resonate with me. So Sticky I have for number 3. Number 2, I put the last minute or minute and a half of the very last track. I Hope You Find Your Way Home. I think I would just say it starts with the sample of his mom speaking, and then the rest of the track to the end. It has a really nice key riff, really nice synth kind of blended in with it. So the last track, I Hope You Find Your Way Home, is on there. Number 1 track for me is Take Your Mask Off. I think that is like, that's the album. Like that's at least my interpretation of what he was going for. All builds to that song right there. It's a very hopeful song, and it's very like shedding of an ego kind of song too. So Take Your Mask Off, number 1 for me.
Nice.
Blake. Very nice. So I had my first one is, well, actually, I'm going to save that one because I think it's overall my number 1. So one of them, Thought I Was Dead. I think Thought I Was Dead is a banger. It's interesting. It's got that hard bass that a lot of these songs have. And like, look, man, I love Schoolboy Q. Nobody will ever make me not love Schoolboy Q. And he's so few and far between. And man, there was a time where we were listening to Schoolboy. We were listening to Oxymoron a lot like we were listening to Tyler, man. We listened to a shit ton of Schoolboy Q, and I thought he did great. I really enjoy that song. It's heavy. It's hard. It's a banger. And you know what? I have, shout out Bose. I have Bose in my new car that I just purchased. They included it for free. They messaged me and said, let us install Bose in the car. And I let them, obviously, because they're our sponsor.
That's what hard work does for you, yeah.
Right. And that shit, let me tell you, I haven't listened in the car yet to this song, but I need to go listen to it because I know that shit's going to bang on those fucking Bose speakers, man. So that was one of them for me. My next one is the song immediately after, Like Him. Slower song, more, I don't know how you would describe it. It's a romantic song. That's how it feels to me. That's the vibe I get from it. It slows down. It's more peaceful. It's not as chaotic as the rest of the album. It's like a nice breather, right? Nice relaxing moment in the album. So I really, really like that song.
It's like as close to a ballad as you'll get from Tyler.
Right, exactly. And then my number one song is Darling I. So there's a
Knew you were
couple
like that.
reasons for this. First of all, I just think it's a beautiful song. I think the features are great. I think Tizo Touchdown is great. It's an uplifting vibe, but like the main reason I like it is because to get Darling I after whatever those first three songs are is like such a redeeming track. I can't tell you how much it kept me in the album. Like I was like, I don't know if I can do another one of those songs. And then Darling I came on. I was like, all right, nice. This is kind of a vibe. Like I can relax and just kind of enjoy this, you know? So I think that's a great song. I really think it's enjoyable and reminiscent of Wolf to me, honestly, in that moment. So yeah, really, really like it. That's what I had.
Nice.
Trey, what do you got?
So I re-listened to this album quite a bit over the last week or so, and whenever I re-listened to it, I started at Darling I. Like I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna
Nice.
This is where the album actually starts for me. It's almost like those first three songs were like some type of, like singles or experiments in the studio or whatever, and he just like put them on the beginning of the record. But for me, the entirety of this album is just like Tyler kind of reflecting on his own like insecurities, where those insecurities come from, and like exploring different avenues and how they've like presented themselves in his life. So I'm gonna start a little weird. My third favorite song was Balloon. I love that song. I think the "Don't Stop" sample is really sick. Like "Don't stop,
I do like that.
don't stop" is typically how it's used, and he just uses like that first cut of it. The production is like super lush. It's like this video game ass beat, but like melded in with this like really pretty like melody in the background, like comes in and out, and, like stops and starts. And it's just like it's very like it's like punk rock hip hop to me. It's like all these things that shouldn't work together that do end up working together. I like the lyrics enough. But from there, I want to talk about kind of my honorable mentions, of which I have three. So I have Darling I, Hey Jane, and Judge Judy as my, and Like Him actually, as like my like three or four honorable mentions. And the reason I lump those all together is I think those are kind of part of telling a story. Like the Hey Jane song, like that song is just straight up about like him getting someone pregnant that he's assumably not in a relationship with, and them deciding like what to do, and like him like saying like it's your decision, I don't really want a kid, but like at the end of the day, like it's something that's on you. And if you've ever been in that position, it's not a fun position to be in. And so that one, like that's like a pretty intense thing to talk about. I don't know whether or not it happened to him for real, but I just like that he kind of takes the thing that he's really, really good at, which is that like conversational style rap where he's playing both sides of the conversation. He does it primarily like verse by verse, but he does like a couple lines where he's like going back and forth directly. And it's really interesting how he's able to keep you as a listener involved in that narrative without doing like weird voices or like changing anything. Like he's just rapping, and like you understand if you're like listening to it and reading the lyrics and stuff, you like understand that like what's happening as far as conversation goes. So like playing off of that song, for me is like Take Your Mask Off is my second favorite song. Because a lot of what Take Your Mask Off is like reflecting on is like that same type of situation that he was in. But it's also just talking about like trying to be free, and just the narrative of like not settling down with one individual person, and like reflecting on like why that might be happening for you. And like at the end is like, I hope you find yourself. I hope you find yourself. I hope you take your mask off. And like being honest with yourself, and like being honest with your, with your reflections. So that song is awesome. And then my number one favorite song, this has probably made it into my like favorite Tyler the Creator songs ever, is Tomorrow. Tomorrow is just absolutely fantastic. It's really, really pretty. It's slow. It's like this very like emotive type record, and this is like where this record shines through. Is like in a lot of the moments that happen throughout it. So the lyrics that I kind of want to call out this whole second verse. But it's like, hold on one second, which my name also starts with a T. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Well, not actually.
Well, yeah, we're not going to tell people my legal name.
Oh, okay.
But so it's so the verse is, yeah, what's gotten into me? Nah, that ain't the energy. That version of T that you knew is a memory. Who is that? You homies get too attached to hear it, fear it, face clear, few wrinkles on my spirit. And then it's like thought the shit out. I popped out with that oven. Tell that new version of me that I'm coming. My Brody had another baby. That's like number 2. My homegirl, her knock tied. That she's like 32. They sharing pictures of the moments. These moments, shit is really cute. And all I got is photos of my Rari and some silly suits. Will I flip the switch and finally settle down, or go the other way and keep my panties down? I'm too paranoid, so I'm gonna air it out. And any pressure that you put on me, I'm gonna tear it down. So like I just like identified with that a lot. I thought it was super cool. Just like this concept of like people around you are kind of like doing all this stuff and like growing up, and like you're just kind of still like wilding out, and like what way are you gonna go, and like making that decision. That shit was really cool. And like I think that he like put it in a really like poetic way. And I fucking love Tyler the Creator, and I'll always love Tyler the Creator. And I think this album's excellent. And I'm sorry.
It reminds me of the first song on 808s and Heartbreak, Welcome to Heartbreak, which is very similar. And Kanye says, like, my friend showed me pictures of his kids, and all I could show him was pictures of my cribs. He said his daughter got a brand new report card, and all I got was his brand new sports car. That I think is very
it's
similar.
Like Tyler's very influenced by Kanye.
Well, that was going to be a question I was going to ask. I wrote this down, because this album felt like it had elements of Kanye and Cudi. Like, so is it safe to say they influenced him?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's on record as saying Kanye is that a Faces Grateful Dead hoodie? Sorry.
Yeah.
That is tough.
What?
Yeah. Where did you get that?
Mac Miller? Damn.
Yeah.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, so
you got every listener just scavenging the internet right now.
So yeah, he's definitely super influenced by Kanye. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Well, I liked hearing your side of it, Trey. And we have somebody who doesn't like the album, someone that really likes the album, and somebody that's kind of on the fence. That's like the perfect dynamic. If we could get every album like that, it would be perfect, but that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean,
but I do like hearing,
we agree on. And yeah, I think I'm very glad that you gave it the full listen, and I appreciate that. I knew Anthony was going to, because, he's Anthony.
Bo is Afraid, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He can't talk so much shit about Bo is Afraid to not finish something. He's pretty much locked in.
Right.
I'm stuck. Yeah.
I am a little surprised that you disliked it to the degree that you did, but I am willing to bet that if you started that album at Darling I and you never listened to the first 3 songs, I think you would have come out of this in a little bit of a different
I think opinion. That's probably accurate. Yeah.
I think it put a really bad taste in your mouth to begin with, because when I first listened to it, I was like, because you messaged me and you were like, Trey promised me something. Promise me if you hate it, you'll be honest.
Yeah.
And I listened to this. I was halfway through that second song, and I was like, fuck, I might have made a mistake. But thankfully, the rest of the record really redeems it for me. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Let's pop into ratings. Anthony, what you got?
Wait. Let me see if there's
it's like the number 1 hip hop album out right now. So there's got to be lots of stuff. While he's digging, did y'all catch the Drop It Like It's Hot, or whatever the original sample comes from that's in Drop It Like It's Hot in Darling I?
No.
Re-listen to it.
Damn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You'll catch it.
That song's great.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree the album does shift dramatically and emotionally right then. So, Darling, Blake, what do you have for us?
So, what do you guys think out of 5 Rolling Stone rated it?
4.
Yeah, I'm just going to say 4.5.
They gave it a 4. Okay. And they said his 8th studio album finds Tyler at the end of the line with his own mythology is the opening line. And then what about Pitchfork out of 10?
No, Pitchfork probably gave it a 9.
I'll say 7.
7.6. On his 8th album, Tyler's both mask on and mask off. It's an electric, revealing, and perennially odd journey back into his aging psyche. So, I mean, I knew they were gonna. It's artistic. It's weird. I do. Pitchfork is gonna be like,
They also have loved Tyler the Creator ever since like post Goblin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. True.
Well, are either of y'all surprised that this is? I mean, I Blake, you mentioned it, but I was also surprised just seeing things in my algorithm pop up about this album getting so much recognition. But Trey, what do you? I mean, from like a general consensus, like if there was an election on this album, like, do you think people would vote in favor of it or would not?
I think that your common hip hop listener might not, but this is going to sound so pretentious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Your educated music listener would vote yes. I think like production wise, this album is really cool. He does all kinds of weird stuff with like jazz beats and like these like synth lines, and it's kind of melding a lot of his sound that like he developed over like Igor and Wolf and like even the early shit. Like what's that? It's like AU 79, whatever that like track is from Goblin. It has this weird ass like heavy synths. Like you can hear even like reflections of that in this. So as far as like seeing where an artist has come from and like melding it all into one record and like continuing on the sound, this is the best of what that does, which sounds like something a pretentious educated music listener would say, which once again is why I would say that demographic would vote yes, but I don't know who would win in the general, if that's what you're asking.
Is Igor a rap album? Which one of these you said one of these isn't a rap album, right?
Igor is not a rap album.
Okay.
Igor is like a synth pop album. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think this is, sorry, I know we're derailing a little bit from ratings. We'll get back to them in a second, but this popped up. This came from somebody whose opinion I do not respect, but I heard it, and I want to know.
You know personally?
No. It's Joe Budden, who I fucking hate.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either.
But he said, and I'm interested, I tend to think you'll agree with him on this. He said that Tyler, the Creator, has a better discography than J. Cole at this point in their respective careers. Do you agree or disagree with this statement?
I would probably disagree.
It's close, though?
It's close.
That's fair.
I would probably disagree. The only reason that Tyler is close is because I think he does something that pretty much no one except for Kendrick and J. Cole do, which is that narrative concept storytelling. And I think in some ways he does it a lot better, but he's not nearly as good of a rapper as either one of those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's like, it kind of depends on which way you want to lean. He has a bigger discography, right? But I mean, like, he doesn't have
though.
He doesn't have a 2014 Forest Hills.
Yeah.
True. That's the thing. That's way more like
off
more digestible stuff.
Yeah, way more digestible.
Well, and off season, like he just it's hard to find anybody that was spitting like he was on off season, like J. Cole was on off season.
I mean, Tyler can't do that on his best day, and he would say the same thing. But they do different things, so I don't know if it's necessarily a fair comparison.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, let's get into ratings. Trey, what do you got?
Oh, I'll go first. I give it an 8. I think outside of those first 3 songs, it's really, really, really good. And just like generally where I am in my life, like I reflected on it a lot and really enjoyed it from that side of things too. So yeah.
Nice. Anthony?
I give it a 6.5. You know, I can't really find myself re-listening to this again, but I could see where he was going for. And I mean, the creativity coming from this guy, I think just is oozing out of him in every orifice. So I salute that, but 6.5.
Nice. I give it a 3.5. Sorry, I mean, you guys knew that was coming. Look, I think that I'm happy that Tyler seems happy. He seems like he loves music. It seems like he loves making music, and he's very creative, and he wants to let that creative outlet flow. And I respect that. I will always respect artists like that. Is it my cup of tea? No, not at all. In this instance, I'm a coffee drinker, but I still think that he's doing what he's doing, and that's respectable. So shout out to Tyler. I'll go listen to Wolf again tonight.
Very political. Very political. I liked it.
Yeah.
Are you not usually a coffee drinker though?
No, I'm always a coffee drinker, but I'm saying in terms of cups of tea, I'm not drinking tea in this instance.
That you were a coffee drinker.
I'm curious, so if you give it a 3.5, if Wayne has a full verse on this album, how much higher does this go?
That bumps to the point. No, it bumps to the point, yeah.
No, if it's a full verse, I would bet this goes higher than 5 for you.
It depends on how
we'll
good
never
the verse
know.
is. Yeah,
we'll never
true.
know.
True. All right. Well, any closing thoughts, Trey, before we move on? It was your pick. You got anything else you want to share that we haven't yet?
No, I think I appreciate that you guys listen to it with an open mind, and I knew it was a little bit of a stretch, but what I really like doing on this pod is I do like bringing new releases and things people are already talking about. I think it keeps us current and fresh, and especially if we have a situation where we have what's it, the Goldilocks? Which one's the one that comes in the house and there's three things of fucking porridge? One of them's too
Goldilocks. Three
cold,
bears.
one of them's just right, and
Yeah.
one of them's the actual right opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool when that happens for us. So,
Yeah.
thanks for listening, and I think everyone else should go give Chromacopia a listen. Just started Darling Eye.
Fuck yeah. Good idea.
Cool.
All right.
right.
Let's get into rides or die. So who wants to lead us off?
I'm already talking a lot, so I'll just go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
So the song that I sent was a song I actually shared it on Instagram the other day, which I try not to do, but I got a lot of reactions to it. I didn't realize so many people were super hype about Soccer Mommy. But Soccer Mommy also just put out a new album, like the Friday before Tyler put his out, and the name of the album is Evergreen. But this is probably my favorite song off of it. She's like a singer-songwriter. She also shreds a guitar. I saw her live one time at Saturn. It was really impressive. Definitely like sad girl shit, but the song that I sent in was Salt in the Wound. So curious how you all felt about it.
Anthony?
Yeah. I enjoyed it, man. Good pick. And especially coming off of the Alanis Morissette album a couple weeks ago, this gave me that kind of new age, like grunge pop kind of singer-songwriter, badass female vocalist vibe. So yeah, I dig it. It's funny thing. When I listened to this song, I just kind of was getting lost in thought, and then next thing I knew, I was 2 tracks past it, and I was like, "Oh shit, what was the track he actually picked?" But that says a lot, so I probably will listen to this album. Mm-hmm.
Cool,
nice.
The official rides.
Rides, yeah.
Thank you.
That was Soccer Mommy.
First off, I was going to give it a rides based on the name Soccer Mommy, no matter what the song sounded like. It could have been silence for 4.5 minutes, and this shit was getting a rides. Because God, what a great name! But also, I really did enjoy the song. It is very, very female grunge, Alanis Morissette vibes, like Anthony said. So yeah, I was feeling it. Good pick, and very on brand for you, Trey. This is a very on-brand pick for you.
The Alanis thing definitely crossed my mind as well. So yeah, I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. I fucking love Soccer Mommy.
Trey, I had to reference back to see, because you have brought Soccer Mommy to the podcast before. A Rides or Dies Circle the Drain. Sound familiar? Yeah.
Yep, that's on Color Theory. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I would do that album.
Keep bringing the Soccer Mommy
around to it. Well, maybe we'll do the new Soccer Mommy record one day.
Yeah, shit.
You can try.
All right, Blake, Anthony.
Let Blake go. Yeah,
Blake go with your why. I don't get it, and I want to know why.
Tell us what it is.
My song is from the American Dad cast, and it is called "Daddy's Gone," and it is a song sung by Steve and Roger, who are Seth Green and Seth MacFarlane. And wait, actually, I don't know if Seth Green is Steve or not. Steve, American Dad. Hang on 1 second. I want to make sure I get this right. Who plays Steven? Scott Grimes. Okay, so it's Scott Grimes and Seth MacFarlane because it's Steve and Roger. And so the episode that this song comes from is a parody of Little Shop of Horrors, and it is when Stan and Francine buy a hot tub that CeeLo Green voices, and the hot tub sings to them and entrances them to the point where they never want to leave the hot tub. And it's trying to trap them in the hot tub. In this song, there's a lot of musical numbers in the episode, but this song is in it, and I just think it's fucking hilarious. And I think it's funny how Scott Grimes, like as Steve, can actually like sing a decent way. And I just love Rogers like constant in the background. It's not my fault, probably your fault, not my fault. He doesn't want to take responsibility. But yeah, they released an album of all of the American Dad songs, and there's just so many funny ones, but this one's really the highlight for me. So what do you guys think? Trey?
You know, I gotta give it a ride. It's just because it's funny as shit. American Dad's funny, and like it's just funny how you can hear the different voices of the different characters, but they also sound like Family Guy characters. You know what I mean? Because you're not watching it,
Right.
So yeah, it's goofy. It's a weird thing for you to choose, and I respect the off the wallness. So yeah, it's a rise for me.
Fuck yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, it definitely rides. You know, I mean, Seth MacFarlane. I'm a big Seth MacFarlane fan. Like as a whole, I never watched a ton of American Dad. I watched Family Guy, and there's a old school DVD of like Seth MacFarlane's Cavalcade of Comedy or something.
Mhm.
It just like showcases all of his like musical numbers and songwriting skills that he has. So like, dude's a wizard, and I would. I mean, it's going to be interesting just over time to see how he continues to be creative. Because, I mean, do you know what season they're on with just American Dad?
So American Dad is on the 20th season. Family Guy is on the 24th, I think, and then he also has the Orville. Yeah, and the Orville is like I think he did 2 or 3 seasons of it. I don't know if it's still going on.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he's super creative, super creative, and very musically minded. Like, man, there's a ton of Family Guy musical numbers as well. So I thought it was. I mean, he's a genius.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely rides.
Fuck yeah.
So my ride or dies will kind of blend us into the film, but we'll set it aside for now. So I painted last week before an art show and listened to this album. It's called "The Earth Is Not a Cold Dead Place" by Explosions in the Sky, and this track it's a post rock album. So Explosions in the Sky is post rock, very ethereal, very climactic music, very emotional and thought provoking. This song is probably the most recognizable of their catalog because it was in the film Friday Night Lights. In fact, Friday Night Lights features a lot of explosions in the sky. But was curious to get y'all's take on post rock and this track in particular, and then also just seeing if you guys recognize, the post rock that was within the film we'll talk about in a little bit, Moneyball. So, Blake, what'd you think about this track?
Sorry, what was the name, real quick? Because I want to.
Track is called "Your Hand in Mine."
Your Hand in Mine.
Yeah,
I like to play it while I'm talking about it. I've listened to Explosions in the Sky before, and I don't know what the context of when I would have been listening to this was, because it's not really like music that I would traditionally listen to, I would say, but there was definitely a period, like I think in the early 2000s or like 2010s, where Explosions in the Sky was popular. I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't think it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I feel like I kept waiting for more. Like I kept waiting for something to happen that never happened. But it's cool. Like the instrumentation is nice, right? It's peaceful, and it's kind of. I feel like late tonight, because I told Trey this, but as I have to stay up all night because I'm working an overnight shift tomorrow, so I'm gonna be fucking rotting my brain with election coverage, and I feel like around 5 a.m. I'm gonna want to turn on this song and just lay in the dark and just be at peace with myself. And so for that context, I think it rides for me there. I don't know if I would listen to it like on a regular basis, but that's a rides. Trey?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Explosions in the Sky definitely has its time and place, but a lot of things have their time and place, and this is a beautiful song. And first off, fucking Texas Forever. Friday Night Lights is a phenomenal movie, great TV show too. My boy Matt Saracen, Jason Street, they're going to be around long after we're dead. So I love the song. I like Explosion in the Sky. I think they're on like a farewell tour, right?
Yeah, they're going to be touring this winter. It's almost winter, I guess, in the touring sense. But yeah, so
that's it.
Early of 2025. I don't know about farewell. I don't know.
I feel like they announced that somewhere. This is like their last hurrah. So I think I would really like to catch them before they're done, because like it's just like a vibey. It's not. They don't jam, right? I think they just. They play their tracks and like kind of set.
Well, that's the thing. It like post rock. It's like Yeah, it's like progressive ambient music that just builds and crescendos and builds and crescendos to a climax, you know? And it's not like dancing, it's not danceable music, but it's like such headspace music for me. That's why I love painting or doing things with my hands while I listen to it. So,
Right.
hell yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, it's definitely rides for me. Also, definitely noticed it, and now that you mention it, in the in Moneyball. So that's what we call a segue. Whose pick was Moneyball? I don't
Mine.
remember.
Mr.
was mine.
Biopic.
Yeah, Mr. Biopic himself.
Got a
Which
list
is
of
not necessarily a
biopics.
Yeah,
biopic.
I don't consider it a biopic.
It's
I
more
don't
of
consider it a
it's more of a docudrama.
Right, you're right. And it's more about the overall. It was about the team, the impact that was had. It wasn't just about Billy. Like,
It was a lot about Billy,
but it wasn't just about him.
but it wasn't just about Billy.
Right. It was.
It was also about Fat Jonah Hill.
Yeah. End of the day, it's not a biopic. Speaking of, wait, quick aside. Speaking of Family Guy, one of my favorite cutaways is Stewie says something like, "This is harder than being Jonah Hill's dresser for the Oscars." And he's like on the phone. He's like, "Okay, tell him to stay exactly that weight. Like, I have his suit." And then he gets a call back 3 seconds later, and he's like, "Damn it!" Okay, so yeah, it was my pick. I picked it because the World Series just happened. We all watched it. The Los Angeles Dodgers pulled off 4-1 win over the Yankees, which I was very excited about. Thought it was awesome. But it was funny. I wanted to pick it because somebody said that Moneyball aged really poorly in the sense that the wealthiest teams are back in the postseason, right? The Mets spent more money than any other team. They're the number one spending team. I think the Dodgers were third. The Yankees were second or fourth, something like that. Astros are up there as well. So they were basically saying that the Moneyball aged very poorly, but I think it's a really, really interesting movie, especially because like I don't obviously remember baseball at that time, but you know, for those of you that don't know, Billy Beane, that's his name, right? Billy Beane.
Yep.
Billy Beane essentially was a guy that came into the Oakland A's and restructured how they were going to put together a baseball team because they didn't have a lot of money. And essentially their goal was to put together a team on a smaller budget that would be successful. And one of the things they harped on was on base percentage, who was going to get on base based off walks, based off a number of other things. And the movie's about that process and kind of that Oakland A's team and Billy and what happened afterwards. But it's really, really interesting. I think Brad Pitt is great in it. I think Jonah Hill is great in it. There's some really special moments in it. Chris Pratt is in it, which is weird. Like, I don't know. Every time I see him, I'm like, I don't know if I like this guy or not. I can't tell. But yeah, I think it's cool, man. It's a good sports movie, you know, and there's a lot of sports movies. Some of them are bad, some of them are good, but I really enjoy it. So what did you guys think?
Try.
You know, you're not going to hear me say this sentence often, but I was wrong. I was wrong about baseball. I've been I've been wrong the whole time. Baseball's
Shut up.
I'm serious. I'm dead serious. This is not a bit. This is not a bit. Baseball's a beautiful sport.
Wow. This is a monumental moment right now. I don't think people understand this.
Me. Imagine me realizing it. I mean, I've hated baseball since I was in 10th grade. And, you know, because a certain coach at a certain high school was such a fucking asshole to me and to all my friends.
Right.
And it literally put a bad taste in my mouth that I just continue to build my opinion off of. But, you know, and Anthony knows more about that than I am. But, and we won't go there. But yeah, I was wrong. Ever since I started watching the World Series, I was watching with some friends who really like baseball, and I was like, this is beautiful. Like, this is a sport that's not like anything else. Like, it's not the most active, you know what I mean? Am I going to watch 182 games next year, which I still think is absolutely insane? That's the
It is insane. It is insane.
No, I'm not. But will I probably watch 30 or 40? Maybe.
Yeah.
That seems a little high.
Yeah, it is a lot.
It is a little high. Will I watch 20 and postseason?
Okay,
Will I keep up with it? Well, I watch 20 and postseason. I'll keep up with it.
And Sports Center.
I will say this. I listened to it.
Moneyball's amazing. That movie is great. The amount that Brad Pitt acts his balls off, and it's just great. Like the having the courage of your convictions and just knowing you're right when everyone else around you is wrong. It's a pretty cool message, and it's just a really pretty film too. So yeah, I think the movie's aged really well. Now the concepts, you know, I think the proof's in the pudding there, but yeah, it's cool. I watched The Rookie right after. with Dennis Quaid.
Damn, you're
It's a
all
Disney
in
movie.
baseball, yeah.
I'm all in
Nice,
baseball, man.
nice.
Dennis Quaid in the early 2000s was extremely hot, by the way.
He's hot right now in
He's hot
The
right
Substance. You watch The
I haven't seen
Substance.
it. I
He's a
know it's
wild
got a
man.
91% on Rotten Teas.
Rotten
But I know
Teas,
you-
bro, abbreviated Rotten Tomatoes. Holy fuck. What version of Cinephile is this?
Next thing you go,
I really
Rotten
like-
T's and letter B's.
Yeah.
I'll wrap that up with I really enjoyed the film. Great pick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a solid movie. I think this movie takes little backstory on this film. Originally, the director was supposed to be Steven Soderbergh for Moneyball, and he was gonna do this movie in like a documentary style with like cutaways to interviews, and there is live footage, spliced throughout this film. But I think it was somewhere along the lines him and Sony. They had this is an example of when the studio has the power for sure to change it up, and I think the director really took a lot from the Friday Night Lights formula, with the post rock. So the band who plays the score for this movie is called This Will Destroy You. So another post rock band, and that really, yeah, that
I know
really,
that band.
it really triggered my brain while I was watching. I was like, who is this? So then I Shazam it, and it's This Will Destroy You. And they take this same track and just kind of come back to it throughout the movie in those kind of emotional moments where, Brad Pitt's kind of in his head contemplating things. Right. And then there's a sequence where I don't know if you would want to say the townspeople in Friday Night Lights, it's the townspeople shitting on Billy Bob Thornton. And in this movie, it's like the Oakland A's fans, talking about how Billy Bean's fucking it all up for us, which is not a bad formula by all means. I think it's reality. But that's what sports are. Sports are drama, played out in real time. But I think I would love, there should be a documentary specifically because so in this film, the A's are, trying to figure out how to come back from them getting players poached from the Yankees and Red Sox. But they end up winning 20 games in a row, which is still like one of the top 3, I think, streaks of consecutive wins in MLB. But the 20th game, I sent you guys a link in our chat to it. If you watch that game just in its own, it's a good bit of time, but the amount of shit that happens in that game, which is kind of touched on a little bit in the movie, is worth its own documentary, I think, because that game's crazy. But on the Moneyball philosophy, it does pay off. It pays off in 2004 with the Red Sox. The Red Sox tried to get Billy Bean to manage their team. He turned it down to stay with the A's. And then they got Terry Francona, who pretty much did the same thing. They had more money, obviously, than Oakland, but that concept of kind of this small ball on base percentage, plus Big Papi, David Ortiz. I mean, that's a World Series formula right there. But there's a great documentary on Netflix about that.
Oh, so good
series or that season.
I just watched that as well.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That'll make you love baseball if you have any questions for sure.
Yeah,
dude. Martinez in that documentary, man, everything like his pitching he was so electric, man. He was so fucking electric, and just his mentality of like, you hit one of my players, I'm fucking hitting somebody. Like, you better strap in. Like that's he was ride or die, man. But I will say, like, this is just a quick rant on American sports because a friend of mine is from Nigeria, and so obviously, like, he follows European sports, Nigerian sports, all of it's very different. I think what makes Moneyball so interesting in the current state of baseball and professional sports in general so interesting and shitty in a way in America is like these mega teams have the money to buy their way to championships essentially, and like the Marlins are talking about the A's getting their people poached. The Marlins, I mean, Jazz Chisholm, Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, a number of great Miami baseball players. Had they all stayed, Miami sold away a championship team essentially is what they did. And I think like there needs to be a bigger discussion about how we're letting money like kind of influence the outcome of these sports. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but it's kind of upsetting. It sucks to see smaller teams, especially the A's, get dicked around and sold and sent to Las Vegas. And Oakland had 5 professional teams 5 years ago. Now they have none. because, well, fuck you, you're poor, we don't care about you. Like, that's essentially the messaging they've given. So support your sports teams, man. If you live in a small market area, right, like, just go buy a t-shirt, man. Watch some games, buy a ticket. Like, these people deserve fans too. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So
even if your NFL team is 2-7, you still love them, right?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, man. I feel like that's my fault.
Hey, they're getting a new head coach out of it at some point, so I'm
Did
gonna
you
be
see that thing where this is
right.
the second time Derek Carr's gotten Dennis Allen fired midseason?
No, but it does ring true.
So
Yeah.
good.
All right, what are we working on next week? Who's got what? I forget.
So
All right.
Trey has movie, Anthony has album.
Yep. So for the album, I was testing the waters with some post rock, but I'm not gonna go there because I don't think it's the time and place for it. But at some point we'll see. But so for the album next week, we're gonna go psychedelic down tempo bass music by this little producer that goes by the name of
Bass Nectar.
Negative. It's Entangled Mind. And
nice.
the album came out earlier this year called Lucid Living. Should be on all the streaming platforms.
Hell yeah.
Little 10-track jammer. Will be
All
a
right,
fun
let's
listen.
do it.
Fuck
That's
yeah.
great.
Trey, what do you got for a movie?
Entangled Mind, they played the sit-down show here in Asheville, the Tenorless event. So they played like a super down-tempo, like you had to stay seated the whole time. I wanted to stand up pretty much the whole time. It's sick. They're shredding. What do I have for movies? So I have a choice for you. We can go. I'm playing off of your movie pick. We're either gonna go off of Brad Pitt or we're gonna go off of sports.
Okay.
All right? So Brad Pitt and George Clooney are in a new movie called Wolves. It is an Apple TV movie, so you will have to have Apple TV if you don't have it, but it is excellent.
Okay.
Is it out now?
It is out now.
Okay.
Came out about 2 weeks ago. Or we're gonna watch Friday Night Lights.
I thought Friday Night Lights was a TV show.
It was a movie. Well, it's a book first, then it was a movie,
Never seen
and then
the
they
movie,
made a TV show.
No, I haven't seen anything Friday Night Lights. No movie, no show, no nothing.
We should watch it. Yeah, let's go Friday Night Lights.
Is it a football movie?
Yeah.
It's a football movie.
Texas
And
football.
it's Texas football, high school.
Yeah.
Football,
Oh, hell
right?
yeah. It's like
Texas
all
high school
Texas.
football. You'll like
Okay.
it a lot. It's a very good movie.
I'm glad you picked
Okay.
it. Trey, I was going to bring it. I was like, this movie just screamed Friday Night Lights at me. So I'm like, I didn't know when I was going to do it. And I was going to save it for the football season. But yeah, I think that's it.
I think doing these back to back could be cool because we can kind of like look at them and see the similarities.
And then I can
and
throw y'all a
differences.
major curveball next week and see.
Fuck yeah.
Oh,
All
God.
right, well, before Anthony's like, next week, Bo's Afraid 2. It just dropped.
Bo's more afraid.
Yeah, Bo is super afraid. Okay, before we go, Trey, I want to know, because Anthony's not going to have an opinion on this, but I want to know,
Is this the fucking election talk right
give
now?
me your election shock pick right now. Drop something you think will shock the world tonight.
He's gonna win in a fucking landslide.
Really? That's your pick?
That is my yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to go into reasons, but I think that he's going to win in a fucking landslide. I have not looked at a single result, so I want to let that be known.
Okay. My shock pick is that Kamala wins 271 to 269, and that it creates
The
utter
world burns.
creates utter fucking bedlam in this country.
Yeah.
That's my sleeper pick.
Civil
271. Lock it in, baby. And then Alex
do it.
Garland will tell everybody, I told y'all, I tried to warn y'all, man.
Get your cameras out.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Trey, Anthony, 'twas a blast, and we will see everybody next week. Bye.
Peace.
Quit recording.